And here we try to look at news making the rounds around the country, Nigeria, and also across the world. We want to again say that you are welcome and to appreciate those who are always with us. And I've also said that please you can always try as much as possible to see that you give us the details where you are calling, we are listening from, so we can also be able to appreciate your country. And like we also say, you can tell us one or two things about your nation, so we can we'll be able to share it on this platform. Again, I said you are welcome. My name is David Edo. This is BHF Media. You are welcome to today's program. We want to start today by also saying that the war in the Middle East is still going on. There seems to be no hope for ceasefire as for now. There's no discussion about ceasefire yet. The attack is still going on. About 6 IDF soldiers lost their life, and the attack on the north is still going on. We said earlier on that there was this meeting of the Arabs and Muslim states in Saudi Arabia, which our own country was represented by our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and some of the resolutions they made there, they instructed, they said, they had their own personal view anyway. It's not, to me, I don't think it's the view of the nation. It's just their own view, because it's not as if it's a view it's not the people's view, it's a personal view by the leaders of this nation. And one of the things they said is that they should, telling Israel that they must cease fire, they must stop the war in Lebanon, they must stop the war in Gaza immediately. But like I said, it's quite unfortunate because these statements were made, but nothing was actually said about the hostages. With all those discussions, I was thinking that they will at least be able to say Hamas return the hostages, but nothing like that was done. So the hostages have been dead for over a year now. Remember, please always remember that. And like I keep saying, both the United Nations and the Arab nations and other nations who are giving their opinion, they should always make sure in giving their opinion that they include that the hostages be released. Those hostages have been held under inhuman conditions for over a year now by Hamas, the terrorist organization, over a year now. It's very difficult to be able to say the exact amount of people, hostages remaining, but there are just speculations that at least half of the hostages remaining now is projected that we have about 101 hostages remaining, and it's also projected that half of those 101 have been killed. So we might have something between the neighborhood of 50, 51 hostages that are still alive, and the rest have been killed. So there must be pressure. Plus, I believe so much that if the Arab nations and also the Muslim nations that went there, and again, let me say this: Nigeria is not a Muslim nation, so I believe so much that our president just went there probably to represent, to lay his own view, not that he's going there as Nigeria being number one, Nigeria is an Arab state. Number two, Nigeria is not a Muslim country; it's a secular country. So probably he went there to represent himself and the rest. But like I said, we also want a situation where there will be a lot of pressure from the Arab nations and also pressure from the Muslim nations on Hamas. If Hamas wants the war to end, it can end today. It's a very simple thing. Let them release the hostages. It's something that is very easy, very simple. Release the hostages that are still in captivity, and the war will end immediately. At least Netanyahu have said it again and again and again that they want their people back, return the hostages. So if you really want to stop this war, because all what we have been seeing so far, it seems as if it's just a form of deception. They don't really want this war to end. They still believe in their hearts that it is possible for them to win. But the Hamas and Hezbollah still believe with the massive destructions and destruction of their facilities, their armories, they still believe they have the chances to win this election, to win the war rather. That's why they keep holding the hostages. Because in the real sense, we want to put an end to this crisis, release the hostages. Release them. At least we have about 100 of them remaining. Release the hostages. What's the point still holding those hostages down when you know that the only way for the hostages, the only way for the war in Gaza to end is for the hostages to be released? And we know very well, just like what Hezbollah have said, if the war in Gaza ends today, there's every likelihood that also the war in Lebanon will end. So I feel earnestly, I feel strongly that the world leaders don't seem to either they decide not to get it, or they decide to play along with Hamas and try to want to create impression to paint Israel bad, so that they can be able, like they say, you give the dog a bad name so you can hang it. And so they are hoping that probably United Nations and the rest will take drastic steps against Israel. And like I said, it's unfortunate. It's really, really unfortunate, because let's be very objective in the way we reason. I've said this again in this program many times, that it's impossible for you to have justice for you to have peace without justice. You can never have peace without justice. And so the right thing to do for this war to end is for Hamas to release the hostages. Release them. They've killed many of them in captivity. They've tortured them. These people have been in Amman dungeon, those terrible tunnels and the rest. They've been there over a year, and there are some of them probably that have not even seen the sun. They've not been able to see the sun, neither have they seen the moon. They've been in captivity for over 1 year. Over 1 year, sleeping and waking up in terrible conditions, and you don't even know the kind of meals they take. There are some who are on drugs. They have health issues, and they have drugs that they are supposed to be taking regularly. And for over a year, some of them have been denied these drugs, and it's possible some of them that have serious ailments are already dead. So one would have expected that in a serious world, if we are living in a serious world, in a world where you have people who are sincere, people who want to take sincere decisions, what they will have done was to have prevailed upon Hamas that released the hostages. And I pray now that since we have a new administration in America headed by Trump, and also the new Israeli ambassador the new American ambassador to Israel, see, Huckabee also is somebody who also will be able to sit down well and have a sincere conversation. This war has gotten to this extent because there was no sincere conversation over this issue. And unfortunately, even the Biden administration, they were just supplying arms and arms and arms and arms. I don't really know if they really want the war to end in this first place, because they will have been able to exert some kind of pressure because of their position in the Middle East, because of their position in the world, and because of their strength. They will have been able to arrive at a reasonable, they will have applied pressure in some areas. These are pressures that will have been able to put a quick end to this war. But we seem not to be getting this kind of pressure from the White House. The White House seems to be satisfied with just supplying arms. That's what I feel. They just want to supply arms. They want to supply arms. They want to supply arms because the head of the crisis is Iran. And whatever Hamas and Hezbollah are doing are decisions that have been made from Tehran. So what I expected is for the world leaders, especially the US, to have been able to sit down with Iran and say this thing has to come to an end. If Iran called Hamas today now and said, release the hostages, they will release them. If Hamas wants to release the hostages and Tehran refuse, there's no way they can release the hostages without the go-ahead coming from Iran. Iran has the final say over this issue. So one would have expected the world powers, well, let me just narrow it down. One would have expected that America would be able to have engaged Iran in sincere discussion, in very sincere discussion. And this whole thing will have ended a long time ago. It will not have prolonged to the extent to which it is now. And it's quite unfortunate because, like I said, we've been on this thing again and again for over over 400 days now, over 400 and something days now of the war, 405 days, which is a year and probably a year and 2 months. A year and 2 months, yes, a year and 2 months now. You know, it would not have gone this long if the United States have taken a hardline position over this issue. But they didn't. They didn't. You know, it gives the impression as if they just want the war to go on so they can keep on selling the ammunition. They just want the war on. And so the target is to ensure that the fighting continues so that they can be able to sell the ammunition, because that is all what they want to do. They want to do. It's a common knowledge that the United States provide money to Lebanon. The United States provide money to the Lebanese, and some of those funds find their way to Hamas, to Hezbollah. The United States also make funds available in Gaza to the Palestinians, and those resources also find their way to Hamas. And the United States also provide the ammunition for Israel to continue to defend themselves and to see that the war is prolonged. So the taxpayer money is in America is what is used to fund the war. The war that they would have ended by taking proactive decision. It's just like what is happening also in Ukraine. Sincere discussion with Putin will have ended this war a long time ago. Yes, Putin has his own. He has his own grievance. He has his own concerns. You know, what they will have done was to have addressed it. There's no need for that war in the first place. What they will have done was to have addressed those concerns and see how they can be able to resolve the issue diplomatically. But what does the U.S. do? So again, when they provided arms. It looks as if the United States have so much arms that they are looking for avenue on how to ensure that some of those arms are sold, are used, instead of just lying fallow there in the U.S. I just pray now that Trump has won the election, and he has made some comments. He said he wants the war in Lebanon to end before he takes over, which is in June 21st. It was the war in Lebanon to end, so that we can begin to focus our attention, our resources on something reasonable, something positive, and not waste it on just crisis of fighting war on the other. You know, so I think these issues all can be solved diplomatically. There is no way the IDF will be able to eliminate Hezbollah completely, because this whole issue, these guys are not just, these are ideology that Islamic ideology that most of them are ready to die for, and this is the tragedy of religion. As far as most of them are concerned, they believe they are fighting a holy war, and so you don't even threaten them with death, because they believe so much that even if they die now, just like we've always said, they believe that they have virgins in heaven waiting for them, and so they are in a hurry. Most of them are in a hurry to go to heaven to meet the virgins, 72 virgins that are waiting for them. And we've always said these are rubbish. Such things do not exist. It's just a religious fallacy that doesn't make sense anyway. But they believe it. They believe it, and so even the children in Gaza, the children in Lebanon, have all been indoctrinated. They have all been indoctrinated. So it has to be a diplomatic solution. It is true, only through diplomacy we can be able to resolve this crisis that is on now over a year. And except that is done, I can guarantee you that in the next 1 year, this crisis will continue. Except that is done, in the next 1 year, this crisis will continue. And so we are not, we are praying that we'll be able to end this crisis so that life can return back to normal. The land belongs to the Jews. There's no doubt about that. They have evidence and evidence and evidence to prove and to show that the land that the Israelis are now belongs to them. You know, we have archaeological proofs. A lot of things have been excavated from that place. Archaeologists have been able to excavate a lot of things to show that that land actually belongs to the Jews. There is nothing ever that have been found through archaeologists and the rest to show that the land actually belongs to the Philistines, to the Palestinians. There's nothing. This war have been on, this crisis have been on for a very long time. This is not the first time. It has been on for years and years and years and years. Until now, there's no archaeological evidence to prove that that land belongs to the Palestinians. But we have a lot of archaeological evidence to show that the land belongs to the Jews. The land belongs to the Jews. It's a tough one. To be able to resolve it is going to be a tough one. They talk about the two-state solution, but the tragedy in it is that at the moment, I doubt if Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi, will be able to listen and go ahead with the two-state solution. Because even if I'm Netanyahu, for example, now, there's no way I can agree to it. Because having a terrorist organization like Hamas turned into a military formation, a military power, and they are your neighbors, it's impossible for you to sleep. There's no way, the Israelis cannot sleep with their two eyes closed if they have the Palestine as a state. It's not possible. You see, most of the things we do, like I've said it again in this program, let's be very real. Let's be very real. The Russians decided to go to war because Ukraine wanted to join NATO. And the Russians feel they have to protect their territory. There's no way they will allow Ukraine to become member of NATO. So they have to go to war to see that, and this war has been on now for over 3 years, insisting that there's no way they will want Ukraine to be a member of NATO. And you won't blame them. You won't blame them, because if Ukraine become a member, that will give the NATO the right and make it possible for them to mount up their missiles and the rest at the doorstep of Russia. And so the Russians went to war to ensure that Ukraine does not become a member of NATO. And so the same thing, you expect that the Israelis will also go to war to ensure that Palestine does not become a state. Does not become a state, because they've shown again and again that they are not interested in living in peace. The only thing they are interested in is wiping out Israel. They keep saying this again and again and again, from the river to the sea, from the river to the sea. So it's not about living in peace. No, that is not the aim. So they want to fulfill the agenda. As far as they are concerned, the agenda, especially the agenda of Iran, is to ensure that the Jews are wiped out completely from existence. So how do you stay with such a people? How do you? It's something that can't work. It can't work. It just cannot work. Let's be very sincere. They might want to say anything they want to say, but for the Palestinians to be able to, for Hamas, for Israel to agree for a two-state solution at this moment will be very difficult. Such things can only happen probably in the near future, in the next 10, 20, 15, 25 years, where they must have de-radicalized a lot of them. Because if you look at even the 10-year-old boy in Palestine, the only thing he thinks about is that the Jews must be eliminated. In fact, the only thing they teach them in that Umrah school is elimination of the Jews. So it's all about eliminating the Jews. And so it's not possible for them to live as a nation together. It's not possible. So it's going to take a lot of process. And what I really expected if we really want to find solution to this crisis, is to give ourselves a time. This is going to take time. We must give ourselves time. United Nations must give time, where they will probably the next 10 years, where they will be doing everything possible to de-radicalize those Palestinian boys and girls, so that they can begin to teach them the benefit of living in peace, and living as brothers, and living as a family. Except these things are done, I do not see a resolution in the near future. It's impossible to be a resolution in the near future. That's the only thing we need to do. It's a process, it's a step that must be taken. Like I said, a step to make sure that the Palestinians are completely de-radicalized. I watched a lot of video clips today, and I saw that most of the Palestinians, the men and the women, are beginning to get fed up of Hamas. The only thing they're talking about is they want the Israelis to take over. They don't want Hamas anymore, because Hamas, as a terrorist organization, actually inflicted maximum torture and pain on the citizens right there in Gaza. They don't have much value for their people. That's why they can use them for human shield. And so after a while, they just told themselves, no, we've gone through enough. I watched them today. They said, no, we want to be free. No, we don't want Gaza. We don't want Hamas anymore. We don't want Hamas anymore. And Benjamin Netanyahu has also said that it's impossible. It will never happen that Hamas can never govern Gaza anymore. They will not allow it. They will not allow it. So that is the state we are, and it's a painful state. We talk about it regularly, almost every day now, monitoring what is going on. It has spread. It has spread also to Lebanon. Today the Israeli carried out air raid over there in Lebanon. A lot of places, there was a lot of attack, bombs everywhere, destroying a lot of places, because the Jews are moving deeper and deeper and deeper into Lebanon. They are hitting their targets, Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, even close to Beirut, even outside Beirut, the capital. So they keep pressing on and hitting harder and harder, so that they can be able to dismantle and destroy the Hezbollah structure. Well, it's quite sad, because like I said from the beginning, the Hezbollah themselves have this feeling. I don't know where they get it from. They tell you that by the grace of Allah, they are going to win. So they still believe they will win. That's why they don't want to submit to any form of negotiation that will put an end to this crisis. And again, like we said before, what are the Jews asking for? That Hezbollah should move far, far, far beyond the Litani River, out of their border. They don't want Hezbollah to be in their border anymore. And also they want to have the privilege and the right, if need be, to fly into Lebanese territory to monitor and enforce the United Nations resolution. The United Nations resolution has always been there, but unfortunately it has not been enforced, because, as I said before, United Nations themselves seems not to be too. They seem to be biased in their decision, very, very biased. That's why they've not been able to enforce anything. They seem to be under. They seem to have sympathy for Hezbollah, even right there in Lebanon. So that's where we are now. The war in Lebanon is still on. The Israelis, the ground forces, are moving deeper and deeper into the IDF are moving deeper and deeper into Lebanon. Like I also said, about 6 Jews, 6 IDF members were shot and killed, and so we have a lot of casualties. They keep increasing in the IDF, and also among Lebanese, and also among the Hezbollah fighters. Quite a number of them have been disseminated, have been destroyed, have been attacked. Their structures The Hezbollah structures have been dismantled. Like I said, the biggest casualty in this crisis going on now in the Middle East are both Hamas and Hezbollah. Remember the two major leaders, Hassan Nasrallah has been wiped off. The second in command wiped off. Most of the leaders in Hamas, most of the leaders in Lebanon have been wiped off. A lot of their leaders, the hierarchy, have been completely wiped off. The present leader right now does not stay, because once you become a Hezbollah leader in Lebanon, there, it's just a way of signing your death wish. That's just the way to put it, because immediately you are named the leader, it's not going to be for long. Something happens and the person is taken away. So as we are talking right now, the current Hezbollah leader is right there in Iran. That's where he's operating from, because it's not safe. And the leader of Hamas has also been given visa. About 2 weeks ago, he was able to secure a visa, and they put him into a plane that took him to the great beyond. So it's on the other side. He just discovered about 2 weeks ago that what they were told about virgins was not true. So it's somewhere going through intense heat and the rest, because there's nothing about some true virgins where you're asking why. It's right now. It's not even thinking about virgins, because it's going through too much issues, torture, that it's not virgins that is his biggest problem right now. So please, I want the world leaders to be sincere. There's nothing we can gain if we are not sincere in our decisions. We begin to take wrong decisions. We take decisions that are not real. It will definitely produce a terrible result. As long as we continually continue, as long as we continue in this step of deception, which we seem to have been going on for a very long time, there's going to be a prolonged war. The reason why the world seems to be shouting and shouting now, not because they want to stop the war, no. It's because they feel that the Jews has upper hand. If it was Hamas or Hezbollah that have upper hand in this crisis, I will tell you the truth, there's nothing that United Nations will have done. United Nations will have behaved as if they don't know what is going on. The reason why they wake up now and they are talking is because the Hamas and Hezbollah are the casualties now. They are the casualties, because it took time for United Nations to even believe and agree that there was sexual abuse that took place during the October 7th massacre, raid, and the rest. And even when they took them to the tunnel, even with the evidence that started coming out from those who were released, the United Nations did not believe that there were sexual molestation on the Jews. On the Jews, they didn't believe it. It took time before they were able to want to believe in it. And the next thing, what they are more interested in is they rush to one UN court where they declared that they must stop the war, or it's illegal. So they take faster decisions. United Nations takes faster decisions when it's against Israel. Once it's against Israel, their decisions are fast. But once it's against the other Hezbollah or Hamas, United Nations seems not to have, not to remember or to have the guts to say anything against this terrorist organization. Well, we want to appreciate all that is taking place. We thank God, and we also pray that we will quickly put an end. Just like I said, it will be an end to this crisis, so that the millions of people, Palestinians, will be able to return back to their home peacefully. Because the sad thing about it is that Hamas don't care. They don't care that over 2-3 million people, 2 million people that live in Gaza are just moving from place to place. Moving from place to place. They don't have any permanent address. The children can't go to school. Those in northern Israel have not gone to their home. They've been hanging around with friends, they've been squatting, they've been staying in cheap hotels and the rest. Why? Because the Hamas terrorists and also the Hezbollah terrorists have made it impossible for the Israelis to return back home. As of today, there was a barrage of missiles that were sent into northern Israel. And since the war began, over 44 Israelis have been killed in northern Israel. Since the war began, over 44 Israelis have been killed in northern Israel. Over 44. I'm not talking about military now. A lot of military people have been killed. We're talking about more of the civilians. Over 44 Israeli civilians have been killed in northern Israel. And unfortunately, as I said, it's not a big deal to the United Nations. And so they've not really see it as a big deal. They've not discussed it. They've not put pressure on Hezbollah so that they can stop these missiles they are sending to northern Israel so that these people can return back to their position. You see, every nation has a right to defend himself. It's a right. You just can't sit down there and allow yourself to be worked up without you rising up to say, no, I will not allow it. It's just like somebody coming to your house and he wants to attack your wife and children, and you're a man in the house, you stand there and you do nothing about it. Then there's a very big problem. That's exactly what the IDF is doing. As the man in the house, the IDF is doing everything possible to see that this attack must stop. And like I said, you don't blame them. They have every reason to do what they are doing right now, to fight back. I want to also move around to talk about what is going on right now. The election in the US has been contested and won. Donald Trump is the winner. And as we all know, it's no more a secret, he won with a very great margin, landslide victory. That's what Donald Trump had, landslide victory. Over 300 and something electoral vote. He's supposed to have 270, but he has about 325 or so, and over 5 million popular votes, more than. Difference between him and Kamala Harris, about 5 million of the popular vote, and also the college vote, he has 325 or 27, if I'm not mistaken. So it has been contested and it has been won. And we begin to see that Trump is beginning to build up his cabinet. Build up his cabinet. He has been able to pick up people, both Secretary of States and the rest. He has built up quite a number of people have been penciled down, the Attorney General and the rest have penciled down. We just want to focus, narrow it down to just a particular department, which seems to be a new department in the United States, the Department of Government Efficiency, that is going to be co-headed by the richest man in the world and one of the most intelligent human beings on planet Earth, Elon Musk. So Elon Musk will be part of those who will co-chair that very department. I was reading somewhere today, where we begin to see some of the wastages that is coming from the US. Wastages. There's so much wastages. For example, I also saw that as of 2023, thousands and hundreds of thousands was given for research to see if the helmet, the crash helmet and seatbelt, if they save life in Ghana. I mean, when you begin to hear such things, you begin to wonder. You spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to America fund it for a research in Ghana if seat belts and helmets save life. What research? This is a waste of money. Everybody knows that seatbelt save life. Everybody knows that crash helmet save life. So what research are they using hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, United States taxpayers' money, to carry? What kind of research? To find out if his seatbelt save life. They also do research to find out the fertility rate of frog. They do all kinds of. When I saw this whole thing, they were spending millions and millions and millions. I began to wonder. And these are some of the things. I mean, United States is among the biggest debtor in the world. They keep wasting money. And so this is the department that Lemont wants to be able to head, so that they can be able to reduce the cost of governance. And I pray we can be able to have such department in Nigeria, because the biggest problem we have in this country is waste. Waste. So much waste. You want to hear the first lady want to do this, he wants to host these billions. This person wants to do this, he wants to host these billions. If we can have the Department of Government Efficiency, we need it in Nigeria more than Americans need it. Because if we have an efficient department headed by a credible person, the problem again we have in Nigeria is that if you create that department here, who are you going to give it to? Because at the end of the day, if you give it to the wrong person, it's amount to nothing. It's just creating office that is of no use. Office that is just there to waste money. And so it's good office. We need such things in Nigeria to be able to put an end to waste, because we have too much bureaucratic waste, too much waste of resources, of our hard-earned money in government activities, especially activities that does not produce anything. If you know how much the ministers are wasting, if you know how much that they are wasting from government department and parastatals, you will weep for this country. The way they live, I thank God that of recent, the president insisted that they should not have more than two, three cars to follow the ministers. Because people were saying, well, let us wait and see if Wike will comply. Because you begin to see a minister that was moving with 7, 8, 9, 10 convoy of cars, and you begin to wonder you are just a minister. And these things will be funded with taxpayers' money. The cars, with the cost of fuel at 1,000 plus, the cars will be filled with fuel from government taxpayers' money. They don't care how it is spent. Look at what happened during the Buhari regime. So much wastage. So much wastage. The family was wasting. This was wasting. The first lady was wastage in the department of first lady. All kinds of things. All kinds of things. Today is the 302 of the war in Gaza. So we need such Department of Government Efficiency in Nigeria to reduce our costs. Because we complain that we don't have money, and yet there's so much waste in government. There are some ministries right now that are not even supposed to be there in Nigeria. There are some ministries that have no business. That's why you see this is going to 2 years now. There are some ministers and ministries that is of no use. We've not seen what they've done. We've not seen one. We've not felt the effect of that ministry in Nigeria. And you ask yourself, of what use is this ministry? If in 2 years the ministry cannot produce any reasonable result, what is the use of that same ministry being in place? So if we have this Office of Government Efficiency, these are the kind of ministry that the agency will be able to scrap up with advice from the president, because the ministries are of no use. They are very, very, very unproductive. There's no results. There is no need. It's waste, complete waste. And at the moment now, Nigeria needs. What Nigeria needs is to cut its expenses. I mean, we have some. Look, do you know that there are some ministries? The president has advisors, special advisors. He has personal assistants. Only God knows how many. He has special advisors, plenty of them. We have senior special advisors, plenty of them. There's just too much duplication of services. And funny enough, the special advisors have their PA, the personal assistants have their personal assistants, so you have the personal assistant to the personal assistant and personal assistant to the president. We have special advisors. So the staff of the president alone, and with all those advisors, you begin to wonder what is the result. You have so much advisors, and at the end of the day, the citizens are not seeing anything. It's not touching the life of the people. So what is the use of those advisors? So these are the kind of things that the Department of Government Efficiency will be able to handle. We have ministers now. Today, the ministers have their own personal assistant A, personal assistant B, personal assistant C, personal assistant to the personal assistant to the personal assistant. We also have senior special advisors to the minister. We have special advisors. We have senior special advisors. So you find that even the office of the minister alone, they have large number of people. And you ask yourself, with all those advisors and workers that are working with the minister, where is the result? So there are too many people in government who have no business in government, both in the office of the presidency, both in the minister's office. They're just creating job for the boys. You complain that there's no money. The money that you are supposed to use to benefit the ordinary citizens, they give job to the boys so they can just be spending the money there. This is the kind of office that agency that we're supposed to have in Nigeria. This agency will do Nigeria better than even the US. So it can pump out wastage. Wastage and wastage and wastage and wastage. The biggest problem we have in Nigeria today is waste. There's so much waste in our economy. From the office of the presidency down to the ministers, waste. There's no single efficiency. And I ask myself, with all these plenty of advisors that we have there, Nigeria is still the poorest country in the world. Nigeria is is among the 11 worst governed countries in the world. Then what are the job of the ministers, these ministers? Of what use is the ministers? They are producing nothing. It's waste. So these are the kind of ministries that we need to be able to pump some of these excesses and these wastages in government, which is draining our resources and causing more poverty in the land, making the people poorer, making them suffer. The roads are still bad, the economy is still bad, people are still in hunger, food is still expensive, everything is on the increase. Everything is on the increase. I remember a few years ago, I bought a brain boss of a Corolla then for some time ago, a long time ago anyway. We bought the brain boss for about 25,000. I remember then 25,000. As of today, the brain boss of Corolla is about 160,000 naira. A bag of rice is about 105,000 naira, depending on the bag. So the economy is still bad, people are still suffering. And as far as they are concerned, they've increased the salary to 70,000. So they should take it. They are not paying them to feed well, they are just paying them to exist. So we need such department of government efficiency now, especially in this government. Because the previous body government is no more, so we cannot go back there again. But I believe it is something that the current president now supposed to put in place, because wastage is our problem. I can tell you there are so much wastages. There are things we keep buying and buying and buying that we have no need of. If we have that Department of Government Efficiency, there is no way they will have spent 21 billion to build a house for a vice president. A vice president that will be there for 4 years. And what is the use of spending so much money in the house of the vice president? What is the impact of the vice president in Nigeria? What is the impact for the ordinary Nigerian man? If there's no vice president in Nigeria, we will not have known the difference. If there's no office of the vice president, Nigerians will not have known the difference. Because even right now, with the office of the vice president, Nigerians are still suffering. There's no value it has added. Instead, it's just a means of draining the scarce resources. Even the National Assembly that we have today, the Senate and the House of Reps, left to me alone, we should have one. There's no point having those two houses of assembly. these two national assembly, because they are waste. We should learn to curb waste. Nigeria is a poor country. Our leaders should know that we are poor, that the nation is poor. The scarce resources that the nation has, the leaders are wasting it. They are wasting it on things that are not adding value. Because as a nation, we as a nation, we are not born to be productive, to produce. We are consumers. I mean, look at even your children at home. Give your child 2,000 naira. Is thinking of what to buy. I mean, you see a girl with a phone of an iPhone of 1.2 million. She has nothing doing. I guess the only business the girl has is her body that she's working. You see a guy that has a Samsung Galaxy. That he has about 2 separate Samsung Galaxy that he has in his phone. He doesn't have job. He's still staying with his father. He's still staying with his mother. He's still eating free food from his father's house. He wakes up in the morning, he's 26, he's 27, he's 28, he's 29, he's 30. Some even 35, they are still staying in their father's house. They wake up in the morning, they tie wrapper, waiting for their mother to prepare food and give to them to eat. At 25 years old, 30 years old, they are still staying with their parents. Still staying with their parents. They don't know what it is to pay bills. They're not ashamed. They have girlfriends, they bring the girlfriends to their father's house. They don't have a house of their own. They are using big phone. The phone they have is enough to rent a house. The phone they have is enough to start business. But they will not start business because they are living in free house, eating free food provided by their father. If you are 25 years, you are 30 years old, and you are still staying with your parents, eating free food, you are a disgrace. As a young man of 25, you are a very big disgrace. It's a shame on you, shame, big shame on you. At 25 years, at 30 years, you are still eating free food in your father's house. You are not paying rent. You know nothing about rent. You follow your father to struggle key. You want to drive car. Wake up in the morning, you tie wrapper. Then you go and take a toothpick or take toothbrush and wash your teeth. And bath and come and sit in the dining, asking your mother to come and serve you food. They'll begin to serve you food at 26, 27, at 30 years. And you are doing nothing. This is how it starts. We are a country of waste, and you are using a phone of close to $1 million. I say, if we are living in a normal country, the money you use to buy that phone is enough to start a business. He said, despise not the day of little beginning. They will have started something with it. And the reason why we are a poor country today is because we are not a producing country. We are a consuming country. And it's in our culture. It's in our DNA. That's why you find out that even when they become president, they continue that way. Because that's how they were born. They were born to waste. They were born to spend money, not to make money. They don't make money, they spend it. They waste it. They don't invest money. What do? They waste money. And so even when they become governors, they become president, that waste, they've now been wasting for years. So it's now in their blood. So when they step into the presidency, they step into government as governors or whatever, as senate, the only thing they think about is wastage. They don't invest because it is not in their DNA. It is not in the DNA of the ordinary Nigerian to invest in business. That's why you find out an Indian man, a Chinese man, a Lebanese man will come into Nigeria. You will see businesses, countless number of businesses he will do. That's why I thank God for the Igbos. The Igbos have shown again that they are good investors. Even when you don't see business, the Igbo man will see business. They will be able to work out, think of what to do. Some of them even start business with 100,000, 50,000, 80,000. And today they are multi-millionaires because the average Igbo man invests. It's an investor. It's in their blood to invest. But the average Yoruba man or Delta man is consuming. It's just to waste. Carry a big phone up and down. You don't have any job. You don't have any business. But you are using big phone. 24 hours you are making calls. If you know how much you spend every day on data, you'll be amazed. And they have no business of their own. That's the problem in Nigeria. So we need to begin to bring up a new generation of people from primary school, from primary one, where investment and production will be part of a course that is a compulsory course in primary school. a compulsory course in secondary school. In the university, it must be a course that is compulsory. You know, production, manufacturing, making money. You know, it must be a course that we will cherish, that we will respect, because we need those courses to be able to invest right from childhood, so we can be not just a consuming nation, but a producing nation. Until we're a producing nation, even the naira, the value of the naira they float now is a waste. Because if we are a producing nation and we are producing to sell, floating of the naira will have benefited us. We will have been making more and more money coming in, more and more money coming in. But floating a naira in a country where they are not producing anything is foolishness. It's like trying to use raincoat. It's like trying to sell raincoats to a fish. What is the use of raincoat to a fish? Raincoat, the fish doesn't need raincoat. It doesn't need it. The fish don't need umbrella. So floating your naira in a country where you are not a producing nation and you are floating your naira, it's like buying raincoat for your fish. It's a waste of time, waste of energy. That's what is causing the pain Nigerians are going through right now. We are not producing. The naira is floating today. Naira is about 1,500 naira. The naira today now is the worst, one of the worst currency in the world. One of the worst currency in the world. And so people just read textbooks and decide to bring textbook law and make it official. You know, they have PhD in economics. And so they make them central bank governor, they make them minister of finance. They have PhD in this, PhD in that. These are textbooks. We are talking about reality. We are talking about reality. So that's why we always advocate for people who can do something with their hands, not those who just go to school to learn and study theory and come back without knowing anything. This is what Nigeria is suffering today. We have people who say they are the economic team, who claim to be economists, who claim to be this and this and this. If they are truly economics and they want to be practical, they will have known that there's no point floating a naira when you are not a producing nation. It's a waste of time. You are just punishing yourself. You are punishing the citizens. I want to say again, as we begin to round up, that the attack against the Jews in Europe and America, especially in Europe, thank God that the Dutch government is taking proactive steps to stop this radical Islamism from spreading to other parts of Europe. Britain is somewhere that used to be peaceful, but immediately they started inviting some of these radical Islamic people, giving them visa, and when they begin to do marry among themselves, marry this Arab, marry this, and because of birth you become a citizen. They begin to give citizenship to people that are born in that place. Now you have a lot of terrorists, a lot of them terrorists, not all, a lot of them are terrorists, and they are spread across Europe and America. And I pity the US, and I tell people, I said, if these people feel they really want to practice what they practice, why don't they should go to other Islamic nations? You don't live where they practice real Sharia and real Islamic doctrines. You don't live there and travel to Europe and America and want to live the same life. There are other nations where you can go. Other Islamic nations are there. Go there. Go to Iran. Go to Iraq. Go to Jordan. What are you doing in London? What are you doing in America? If you want to practice real Islam, then go to Iraq. Go to Somalia. Go to Niger. You know, these are Islamic states where they practice Islamic laws. But you don't move from Islamic countries and move into America or move into Europe and you want to insist that you must practice Islamic law there. No, that is not their culture. That is not their culture. So trying to force something that is not their culture, it becomes an anarchy. An anarchy. And I think the earlier they do something about it, the better. Because it will get to a stage where it becomes impossible for Europe to handle this how do I call them now, this radical Islamism that is set to destroy the world. Until we meet again tomorrow, please take good care of yourself, live in peace, pray for the peace of the Middle East, and we also pray for the world leaders, that they will be able to apply some wisdom in the decisions they take. Until we meet again tomorrow morning, please take good care of yourself. Have a nice day.